Just act like you feel confident. Just put a smile on your face, even though you don't feel it. Eventually, if you do that enough, it'll start to change and become more natural. I'm coaching a player that has much bigger, higher limits than I had. So I have to be careful not to put him into my head. And I have to realize that he's different. And he has greater abilities maybe, and he has more things that he can do. Make sure that you are enjoying the process because you're spending a lot of time there, you know? It's really important.
Hi, I am Caroline Garcia.
And I am Borja Duran.
Welcome to Tennis Inside the Club. This is a podcast where the top tennis players open up like never before.
From Grand Slam champions to rising stars, they tell their stories in their own words. Subscribe now on your favorite platform and don't miss an episode. Let's get started.
Welcome to Tennis Insider Club.
Bryan, thank you so much for being with us today. First question is, how did you start with tennis?
Wow, it was a long time ago. I was 8 years old when I first picked up a tennis racket. And, for me, it was kind of just happened by chance. I was riding on my bike and I saw some tennis courts and I saw some kids out there playing in a clinic and in the summertime. And I grew up in Alabama. And so I wasn't really exposed to a lot of tennis. But I sat there and I watched outside the fence, and the pro who was with the kids, it was like a summer camp, very beginner level. He saw me, he said, "Come on out." And he invited me to join the kids in the clinic, and he gave me a racket to use. And I came back the next day and the next day and the next day. And at the end, there was a little contest, a serving contest. And the winner received a new racket, and it was like a Jack Kramer Wilson autograph racket. And I won the contest. And then I was like, oh, I love the sport, and then I began to play, and hitting against the wall or anything and just enjoying the game. And my mom was like, oh, I like this. This is a great sport for you. And because I loved all sports. And so I played everything. But tennis became something that I got pretty good at pretty quickly.
That's a pretty beginning.
So yes. I continued with it.
Nice. And how was that transition from playing just for fun to start transitioning into playing tournaments and maybe trying to make a living out of it?
Yeah, well, for me, it was quite a long journey, because I played junior tennis, and I was very fortunate to have a coach that moved to our small city in Alabama, and he really understood the game very well. Not just the physical part of the developing the skills and the technique, but also the mental part of how to manage all of these things, the emotions and the mentality of the sport, and to compete at a higher level. And so through the juniors, I continued to progress. And then I ended up going the university route. So I wanted to study engineering. And so I went to Georgia Tech, which is a big engineering school in Atlanta. And I had 4 years there to continue to develop my game and just develop as a person, and really had a good, healthy experience there. And when I started on the tour after my years in college, I was able to, I think, manage myself pretty well just because of, those life experiences that I had as a kid growing up and learning the sport, and also wanting to get a good education, going to university and not only focusing on tennis, but also focusing on other things as well. Yeah. So that when I started to play tennis professionally, I had a good education also, which was almost like a safety net. If I didn't do well in tennis, I could go back to this if I wanted to, but I knew that I wanted to play tennis at the highest level. And so then I went for it and continued to play professionally for almost 9 or 10 years.
Right.
And you were sure you were going to go to university, or you ask yourself the question, maybe I try to go pro at 18?
No, I wasn't at that level. I wasn't at your level, Caro, at that age. I was a pretty good player in the United States, but I wasn't one of the very best. And so the decision was very easy for me. I had to develop. I was still very small and hadn't grown physically. I was not able to compete with professional players at all. And so for me, the choice was very simple.
Yeah, and it's good after when you start to be pro at 22?
Yes, 22.
You're like a different person.
Exactly.
Do you think like going to university also, like besides of the tennis growth, also helps you to be more prepared mentally? Like, because those years at the end is the years where you're developing also like as a human being, your like personality and stuff. And it makes it easier like to handle after the pressure, the success.
Yes.
You're like, you go as an adult more than as a kid, not to the pro
Yeah.
tour.
I think you learn so much through those years between 18 and 22. You
Yeah.
leave home for the first time, really, and you're on your own. And you're not totally on your own because you have a team.
Yeah.
And you have coaches there that support you. And you have friends that are in the university as well that are outside of tennis. So you're developing those relationships. So it's very healthy from a social aspect of really getting to know people and opening up about how things are going with you in your life and the things that aren't going so well. You're sharing those experiences and you have success at the college level, but you also I had times when I wasn't doing well. And so you learn like who your real inner circle of people that you can really trust and rely on in those moments. And I think that's very healthy because on the tour, you're sometimes on your own.
Yeah.
And it's like you're trying to figure out these things in your own head. And now you can share these things with others and kind of understand that who are the most important people in your life too. Because when you have bad experiences, it's nice to know who you can go to, who you can trust.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people want to be with you when things are going well. And then when things aren't going well, like you find yourself alone. Like, whoa, where's everybody? And I found that in school, like at university, I had a patch for a year where I was struggling with my tennis. I wasn't doing very well. And I looked around and I didn't see anyone near me. And so it taught me a lot. And I think those type of experiences and understanding and coming through those experiences and getting back to a good place again kind of gives you, I don't know, an ability to do that in the future.
Yeah.
When things aren't going well, it's not the end. It's just part of the journey. It's part of the process. It's part of growing up. It's part of developing. And so once you have that, and you understand that a little bit better, it's easier to deal with the tour where you lose a lot of matches and it's sometimes a lonely place.
Yeah.
And how was the beginning on the pro level? Was easy? Was tough moment?
I think the professional level was amazing for me. It was something that I always aspired to get to, and I remember watching as a kid, watching McEnroe and Borg at Wimbledon and just watching those matches and thinking, wow. And then my very first experience after turning pro was to come to England and play at Roehampton and play the qualifying and get through the qualifying. Then I played Boris Becker in the first round. So what an amazing way to start my professional career. And I had a good summer. I lost badly to Becker, but I had a good summer and I played at the US Open and I also passed through the qualifying and I got to play Jamie Connors in the second round.
Wow.
So, my first two big Grand Slams, I'm playing Becker in one and I'm playing Connors on another on stadium court. So, it was a great introduction to the sport, and after that, whenever I was on a big court or a big stage, I felt a little bit more confident, to be able to handle those things. And it also inspired and motivated me to want to continue to do well and to work hard and to put myself in a position where maybe I had some more of those opportunities.
Yeah, it's true. Like sometimes the beginning in slam, it's like it either give you a lot of confidence or kind of give you a little like traumatic experience. When you have like the first big matches you play and you're like, I just hope I can forget about that one.
Yes, and that's how I felt against Becker. I look back in the moment, I was so scared to go on the court on that day and I was mishitting the serve. Like I wasn't even hitting solid contact with the serve, my best shot. And the nerves were incredible. And then same thing against Connors. It was similar, but I won the first set, and I remember looking up at the scoreboard afterward and I saw Connors and Shelton and I saw 7-6 and I was like, oh my gosh. And then I lost 6-2, 6-2, 6-2.
So happy
it
to
happened
be there.
to all of us.
I kind of got to my head.
It happened to all of us.
But great experiences to learn from and just to have, because as a kid, you look at that on television and you think, wow, it would be a dream to be there. And then to actually be on those courts with those great legends is amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
What was your goal when you were a pro?
That's a good question. I think that as a pro, I was never, ever satisfied, with where I was. I mean, originally it was like, I want to get into the top 100. That was my first goal as a tennis player. It was like, I want to reach the top 100. I want to be able to play in the Grand Slams. I want to be able to be main draw and not have to go through the qualifying. So then you reach that, and then it was like, okay, well, I want to be in the top 75, and then it was the top 50, and I never reached the top 50, so I got stuck, but it's interesting now, I laugh all the time because Ben surpassed my highest ranking within like a few months of turning pro, and it's not fair.
Well, it's also
he had
thanks
a
to
good
you.
coach. He had a good coach.
It's also thanks to you. So, in a way, you passed it. What is your best memory from your playing career on tour?
I have a lot of great memories. But I think for me, it was the opportunity to have my mom and my dad sometimes travel with me on tour. And I remember them coming to Wimbledon in I think it was 94. And actually my ranking had dropped. So I went back to Roehampton again and had to play through the qualifying after my ranking had dropped. And I had lost a series of matches in the first round leading into that. So I didn't have a lot of confidence. And I had my parents coming to Wimbledon, and I'm thinking, I'm not even in the main draw. And I got my first win in the qualifying, and then I started playing better and better, and I qualified. And then the next thing I knew, we were in the fourth round, And so for me, that was my best ever at a Grand Slam. And so that feeling of, going from like struggling and losing a lot of matches to pushing through that and getting to a point where, I got back on my feet again and felt confident again. That was just an amazing feeling. And as a player, we all know what that feels like when things aren't going well. And then you find a way through some help with others, coaches, friends, family, to rise up again and get back to where you want to be.
Nice.
Yeah, it's crazy in tennis how sometimes you can just switch. Yeah. It's not as easy because sometimes, most of the time, to make that good result and that switch, you have like some tough matches where you go through. But sometimes it's like hard to explain on how you lost like 5 tournaments in a row in first round and then suddenly you win like 3-4 matches in a row. It's like...
Yeah. And we had Chris Eubanks on the podcast, and he said like that now he's going through a rougher patch, and he's like always trying to remember it only takes one good match.
That's it.
Like one day will come that good match where you win a tough one, and everything's gonna click after that. So that's the magic of tennis at the end, no? That
I love that.
Nice.
I love that about the sport. It gives you hope and optimism for the future. Always.
Yeah. Now, and then after, how do you come to the decision to... You retired quite young, no? If I'm not mistaken.
32.
30. Well, yeah, back in the day. Like now it's called... Like now
that was normal then.
Yeah, what's wrong with you? No, if you're retired now. Fair enough.
Go do something else with your life. You've been out here long enough. Now, 38, 39. Djokovic keeps going.
Yeah. Was it easy for you, the transition from being a pro to stopping... play?
I was a little bit concerned that I would have a hard time to make the transition because I wasn't sure what the next step would be. I knew that I liked working with children, so I thought maybe I'm going to go back into education, maybe do something there. And then I got a phone call from another coach, Tom Gullickson, and he was working for our federation, the USTA. And he asked if I'd be interested in coming to possibly be a national coach and help others, and I thought, well, that's interesting. And so I had a couple of interviews with them and ended up taking the job and got into coaching, and which was similar to teaching, I felt. And so I was able to start there, and I've been coaching ever since.
Nice.
You liked coaching at the really beginning?
I did. I felt like it was something that I needed to obviously learn. It's one thing to be a player, it's another thing to be able to help others. And but I felt like I was always a pretty good student of the game and really loved the game and loved all parts of it. And so I had some opportunities first to work in the federation for a couple of years and learn a lot with other great coaches that were around me. And then I got to go and coach collegiately at the university. And my first job collegiately was coaching where I went to school, which was at Georgia Tech. And I was actually coaching the women's team. And so I was there for 13 years coaching young ladies, and from 18 to 22, and making lots of mistakes and doing a lot of things that, that I learned from as I went through, as far as how to help people develop, and at first I was pushing so hard, and then I realized that there's got to be a balance. And so you start to find the balance of coaching, and sometimes it's more important what you don't say, than what you do say, and the timing of when you say things. And it's like, you might have the answer, but doesn't mean that that's the time to give that answer. And so you start learning the intricacies of coaching, and it's an art. And, it's not just a science. And so I think from that point, I just learned so much. And then I had the opportunity to also coach the men's collegiate team at the University of Florida, which I did for 12 years. And then along the way, bringing up my own 2 children and getting them involved in the sport as well. So I got to coach from the very youngest stages all the way through the collegiate stage. So it's been fun.
Nice.
So you coached your kids since the very beginning?
Yes. Yeah, no, we started them with little ping pong paddles with their hands, and their mom would, get balloons out, and they would hit the balloons with the ping pong paddle. And then we eventually started getting them on the tennis court. My daughter at a very young age, my son was not. Ben was not interested in tennis in the beginning. He said, "That will not be my sport, Dad. I'm going to play football, I'm going to play basketball, I'm going to play baseball, but not tennis."
All the American sports.
Yes, all the American sports and the team sports. And because he's very social, and so for him, I thought that was maybe a better path, to go the team route and not the individual tennis route. So,
and how did he change his mind?
He was very good in American football. He was a quarterback on his team for 5 years, and I think he was around 11 years old when he said one day, because he saw his sister going to the tournaments on the weekends, and the finals in the United States, the finals a lot of times are on Mondays. And so if she did very well at the tournament, she would miss school on Monday. And I honestly think he was just jealous that she was able to miss one day of school each week, because she was doing well. And his sister just thought, "Hey, Dad, do you mind if I start playing tennis with you and Emma?"
It was quite late.
Oh, she was late.
What? He's like, "Yeah, I'm going to give 1 year off from football, and I'd like to play tennis with you guys."
Quite late at the end, like 11, 12.
Yeah, I was 11 years old.
And until then, he was not playing that much.
He wasn't playing. He was playing in the summer camp with us a little bit, but during the year, not at all. No tournaments. And then he started training with us, and we trained very early in the mornings because I had to work all day. And so I was like, okay, but if these are the stipulations, we have to go 6 in the morning, and we're going to go for 2 hours each day. If you want to do that, you're welcome to join us, because Emma, his sister, was very motivated and very serious and very disciplined, and Ben's a little different. And I said, but you have to set your own alarm clock, and I'm not going to wake you up. But if you want to come, you show up, and we'll have breakfast in the morning, and we'll go. Nice. And so he started coming down with us, and we started the whole journey of his tennis as well.
Wow, that's
6 to 8 is a...
Yeah.
I mean, it's more like, in US, maybe it's more normal, but it's quite early.
In Europe, it's like a way of torture, no? 6 a.m.
Yeah, well, I think it was torture for them.
Yeah, but it's a way to make him tough and responsible at the same time, right? Because he needs to start to be accountable for waking up. That's
exactly right. And then it's a privilege. It's a privilege to be able to go and play and do sport and do these things. And so they kind of recognize that. And I didn't have the time. Yeah, because I was with the team, and I started with the team at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I went until maybe 6 p.m. And so it was difficult. I knew I couldn't work with them at the end of the day because I was tired, and I would be not very patient.
Yeah, your mood.
So in the morning, it was the perfect time for me. So we made it happen.
Nice.
And how was that relation and connection with your kid, being also kind of on the court, your student at the end?
Yeah, I think it was. I came from a very disciplined family. Like my dad was very disciplined. And so I think I have a lot of that in me as well, like to be disciplined and to work hard for things and to push to always excel and be very good, but and always thinking about development. And so with the kids, I think, you know, I was able to push, but it was just an interesting dynamic having your son and daughter on the court at the same time, because the two of them
fighting,
were doing this, and I was constantly like trying to, I mean, as much as I was coaching, I was trying to keep them both alive, you know, from killing one another. So it was super competitive because she started before Ben, so she was better than he was. And he was so ultra competitive. And he only wanted to play like games. Like he didn't want to work on technique. He didn't want to drill. He just wanted to compete against her until he could finally beat her, you know? And she wanted to work on her game and to feel good about her tennis and everything else. So it was always this battle, you know? I want to play games. No, I want to work on my forehand. No, I want to. So it was pretty interesting especially in the beginning, you know, with the two of them. But great memories. You know, we laugh now all the time about, you know, just all the craziness of being on the court together day after day after day, you know, and the fun moments, the tough moments. I mean, they're all like moments that we cherish now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when Ben finally was better than his sister, what happened?
Well, it took a long time. It took a long time. I mean, even when he was 15, they would play certain games and she was still winning, you know?
Interesting.
So from the ground, she was more solid. And, you know, obviously with the serve and things like that, then he had a little bit more of the advantage. But yeah, they competed pretty hard against each other. And I always found that her level against him just really went up. Like I always felt like she could play any lefty well after playing with her brother all the time, you know? But no, he eventually got too big and too strong, you know? And physically, he started to really, you know, 16, 17, 18, things started to
already
change.
On the serve, like most of it, and like covering the court for the boys. It's very different.
Yeah.
On the girl side, you cannot make a winner, you feel so.
Right. Yeah.
And for you as a father, but also like former player and coach, you wanted your kid to like, yes, they can still play tennis, but they have to go through university, or?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought that I wasn't really thinking about professional tennis with my children. I was thinking like college tennis.
Okay.
My daughter, like early on, she knew I want to be a professional tennis player. And I thought, let's take it one step at a time, you know?
Yep.
And let's develop your game in a healthy way. And let's not worry about the results too much. Let's not think about points and these things that a lot of families talk about or try to strive for. But let's just really take it one step at a time to try to develop your all-court game and develop you as a person as well, you know? And let's do it as much as we can in a very healthy way, you know? And the results, when they would come home from the tournaments, you know, I'd always ask the same questions, you know, because I wasn't able to travel to the tournaments with them. Their mom took them to most of the tournaments. And so I would ask, you know, what did you do well? You know, and they would go through and tell me the things that they did well. And I said, well, what could you have done better? You know, and my daughter would always have a long list of the things she could do better. Like she's a perfectionist, you know, and always hard on herself. And then Ben, he would tell me all these things he did well and very little about what he didn't do well. And like, come on, you lost in the quarterfinals. Like, what could you have done better? I just need to grow. Once I get bigger and stronger, I'll beat that guy every time.
That's a very boy answer.
I mean, the confidence already. Like, he would not take any negativity, none. He would just throw it away. And I was always like thinking, that's not a good mentality. And now I realize that it was actually a good mentality.
Yeah. Sometimes you need that fake confidence in a way, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
he just had this ability to communicate confidence like all the time.
Believe in himself.
Yeah. And I think by doing that over and over and over and just rejecting any negativity, he wouldn't take it on. You know, even if I told him like, you need to do this better and better, he goes, oh yeah, I will. As soon as I get bigger, you know?
Well, you had the big confidence also he will get bigger.
Yeah, that's true.
This looks more like American mindset sometimes than in European, no? Like in Europe, if you say something like this, people will tell you you're arrogant, kind of.
Yeah.
While in the States, it's more like kind of celebrated sometimes, no? Like confident people who are like able to say, yeah, I believe in myself. And
Yeah, I think
That's
so.
it.
Yeah, that's it.
I know it will happen for some reason.
Yeah. Well, it's a powerful skill, not to be like self-confident.
I think
Unless
so.
you're stupid, which then maybe it's like a huge mistake, or not talented in tennis, no? But
Yeah, I think belief is something that if you look around, even at the players that are at the very top of the game, the top 100 players in the world,
yeah,
it's something that comes and goes throughout the season. You know, they're at some points, they're just naturally, it's going well, and they have this belief and inner confidence that it will continue to go well. And they start to feel the formula for success. They feel like, you know, they don't even have to talk about it. It's just a feeling that they have inside when they're going well. And they just don't even think about it too much, but it's just, they're in a nice flow state.
Yeah.
And then there's other times when it's just like, they start to doubt themselves, you know, and start to think, well, maybe I'm a phony, maybe I'm a fake, maybe I'm not as good, even though I'm ranked high, maybe I got lucky, or, you know, they start to have these thoughts and these feelings inside, and we've all had them as players. And it's like, how do you deal with those things internally and turn them around so that you can be more confident and you can start to believe? Because some people think you need to have good results to build your confidence. Well, if you don't have it,
you will not have
how do you get the results?
Hmm.
So what else brings that confidence and that belief? And what else can you focus in on to help you to continue to move in the right direction? And I think these are the things that for me were fascinating, because that's where my playing experiences and having all those thoughts and then being able to share those thoughts with my players that I've worked with, so they understand you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
We all have this. I mean, I talked to Martina Navratilova, and she had all these doubts, even when she was #1 in the world and setting all these records. She still doubted herself all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and Tom Brady in football said, you know, I feel like every year I have to earn my job, you know, and it's like, this is the greatest of all time,
Yeah, true.
you know? So,
Do you think in a way, like younger players, like maybe they get like a lot of focus on the skills on how to do a good forehand or good serve and stuff, but like there's not enough focus on how to develop like mentally and how to handle like this kind of like confidence pressure and stuff? Like it's a bit like kind of not like the other things are like super overlooked, but then they arrive to the tour and they don't have the tools not to manage like all the like mental struggles kind of.
yeah, I think so. I think winning is a great thing when you're young, but it's not everything. You know, I think having to struggle a little bit at different places is really important, you know? And my coach that I had growing up used to say, you need to play 3 types of tournaments. You need to play a tournament that's very easy, where you gain your confidence and you actually work on during the tournament on things that you're trying to improve, and you have confidence to try them.
Yeah.
And it's tough to do that against tougher competition, because you want to win.
Yeah.
But so you have this tournament where you can win easily, but you can also try different things, and develop your skills and confidence in those skills. And then you need to play tournaments where the competition is too
Really
good.
high, yeah.
But there you kind of start to understand what you're missing in your game. And you start to see the other good things that the other person does and think, oh, maybe I can take some of that into my game.
Yeah.
And you start to recognize the things you need to work on and what you need to develop. And then you need to play that tournament where you're going to be having these matches where you really have to learn how to compete.
Yeah.
You know, it's very close, very even level. What's going to determine you winning or losing that match? And I think if you play at all 3 of those levels,
you develop
then you can develop. And sometimes it's tough on the tour because you come out here and it's already here.
Yeah.
You know? And you don't go down to maybe play a challenger or a smaller tournament where maybe you could do some of those things. And so it becomes a little bit tricky to develop that confidence that you need to be able to compete and mentally be there. And I think you're right. I think focusing in on that part is something that we should do more of as coaches and as players, to really work on that mentality of what it takes to really...
from the outside, though, you hear all the time tennis is a very mental game.
Exactly.
But then it's like, okay, but like the 17, 18 years old kids, they're not like being taught how to handle pressure, how to handle stress, how to like, you know, like see the 365 of tennis.
Yeah, that's a good
like
point.
you play juniors and you're good in juniors, that means you're going to be good in the pros, and you will, if you're good in, meaning that you will win slams and everything. So it's always like so much like so high. It's like the goals and everything is so high, so far.
Yes.
And it's very unclear sometimes what it means to win a slam. It's like something there, but you don't really know what you have to do to achieve it.
Yeah. Did you figure that out? Because you got so close.
Yeah, well, no, I didn't.
But I mean,
it's like,
if you look back at it now, do you see like maybe one thing or two things that would make a difference?
I should have added in my game more an option B.
Okay.
Or because most of the time with my game, it was very risky. And there were, I think, a lot of matches that I lost that I could have been able to win if I have been taught to have like, okay, today it's like I have to put it in. Okay. Today I have to put it in. But I never, like my dad wanted me to be aggressive,
yes,
do winners, like take
yes,
position on everything.
Yes.
But there were some days where like either I was not feeling it, I was too stressed, yes, and I was not able to do it. And I didn't know how to like put it in. That maybe today put it in is good enough.
Right.
And tomorrow I can step on court again and go to my way.
That's interesting.
So I think it's like, but it was only one way for me to play. It didn't open me to other way. It was like, you don't know how to do the rest. It's like, well, maybe if I spend time doing it, maybe I can learn, you know? Right. And maybe I will use it only for 5 matches a year, but maybe those 5 matches a year will allow me to do one step more in the slams and then get the rhythm again and everything. So I think that's what I missed.
Okay.
It was learning on option B, but also having someone to tell me like how to do option B and give me the confidence I could do it.
Right.
Because sometimes, you know, on court, like when you see that everything goes wrong, it's like, okay, I want to put the ball in and I just want to run. Right. But I always heard I was not able to do it. So obviously when I had to do it on top of being overstressed, I was like, no, I cannot do it. I cannot do that.
The little voice was playing in your life.
It's like, I'm not good at that.
Yes.
So I was not even taking that role. So I think that's what I missed.
That's interesting. It's good.
Because in slam, at the end, it's so long that there is days where you're like, bad.
Yeah. But I guess the other side of it, Caro, is that, you know, when you have conviction with what you're doing and you have an idea of what you do and who you are as a player, I think it's best to have both. Like you say, you can go the furthest. But if you get caught in the middle of two and you're not sure which one to go to more often, you get run over. In the United States, we have this animal, the squirrel. Do you know the squirrel?
Yeah.
The squirrel, when he sees the road, he goes there and he goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then he gets squashed. No, and I always told the players, before you start the point, have conviction with what you want to do. You know, understand like, this is how I'm going to play this point. This is what I'm going to do on my terms, you know? And I think that when I think of you as a player, it's what I admired the most is that when I saw you, you were playing on your terms and the other person had to respond to you and to your game. And so you got to strike first. You with your pressure, with your position, with how you played, with the way you came forward. Just a beautiful thing that you brought to our sport. 100%.
But I think it's like, but you know, some days, like, of course, like probably this game style brought me a lot of things.
Yes.
But for example, there's like a couple of matches in Roland Garros. One day was like super windy, super cold. I was playing Svitolina and I tried to play that way, but she was just like
getting the ball back.
Yeah. And it's like I didn't give myself the chance to let her win, you know? I just gave it to her. Because like I didn't have the confidence that even if it was going to be used like 5 matches a year, that I could do something else.
Right.
Like,
no, I totally agree.
I think even if you don't want to use it, you want to be aggressive, like having that option, and having like the skill to say like, oh, today I'm not feeling it. I need to go like 1 meter behind and maybe today just pushing it, like the other person is going to be like me and it's going to be like missing. It's a good skill to have, to be the more complete you are.
I agree.
And maybe also it's only during half an hour. Maybe it's going to be like for a couple of games where for some reason you get your rhythm back.
That's right.
But you get yourself some time. And sometimes with my game style, it just went like
too quickly,
too fast, too quick. I didn't even know what happened. And I think that's probably what I missed to like be a bit more consistent slam.
That's interesting.
But yeah, I didn't have, I think, the mentality and the support from my team around, and at that time my father, to like give me more options.
Right.
And like, yeah, I mean, I was trying my best sometimes, but like playing flat and early is not always easy, you know?
No, it's not.
When you're like overstressed.
You also have a lot of pressure, which doesn't help with your game, no? If you have someone like putting a lot of pressure, and on top of that you have to play very aggressive, no? When you're tight, to play aggressive is not the easiest, no? And
that's true.
like me, when I hear like you said talking about not putting pressure on your kids, no, and focusing more like on the long term, on developing your game, that's something you kind of never had, no? It was like a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And that's tough also for a young kid.
I think, that's where my experience, having played the game and understand the pressure that I felt at different times, but also coaching so many different types of people, girls and guys, and learning like how everyone's different and how they handle the different situations and how they deal with stress and things like that. I mean, that's people like will see Ben do something like, well, why don't you just tell him to do that? I'm like,
good luck.
It's like, yeah, of course, it's easy to see from the outside. Just do this, but it's not so easy, and because there's stress involved.
Yeah.
There's still stress involved, and I think that Ben he's immune to stress, and no, he feels it too. And it's learning how to manage those things, and with his game, also a very aggressive style game, and it's not easy.
In tennis, like it's quite one of the unique sports or industries, where you see like these kind of parents with no prior experience, like becoming coaches. I'm curious. You've been a great player, great coach. What do you think about this? Because it's a pattern you see repeating, and it's like,
Yeah, I think the expectations that a lot of parents have for their children, is that they're going to just go out there and win all the time, or that, they should be doing these things perfectly, at certain stages. And, you take away like some of the feelings of not really understanding what it feels like to walk on that court with all those eyes centered on you, and they paid the money to come see you. And sometimes we go to the tournaments and the tournament director saying, I really want Ben in the finals. I want him in the finals this week. And they say to Ben, we really need you in the finals this week, and Ben's going, okay. And he feels that.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's a human, he's not a robot. And so then all of a sudden he goes to the court, and you can tell when he's just happy and ready to play, and when he feels a little bit of that stress and pressure. And, I don't think any of us are immune to that. We all feel it. And so, yeah, it's interesting. I think parents, obviously they want the best for their child, and it's just hard sometimes for them to, without having the experience of playing themselves, it's hard to them for really put themselves in their kids' shoes and really feel what they're going to feel out there on the court. And I think when you felt it, you have a more just empathy, I think is the word.
Yeah.
Empathy for your child and how difficult it is to go out on the stage and always perform. And then you also see all the things that they have to do off the court.
Yeah.
And you see social media now, which is a big part of this whole thing, and the abuse that happens through social media. And your kid, who's very social, is looking at those things as well, and they feel it all. The people that are betting on the matches, and you can hear them on the side of the court, and they're just coming at you and like upset if you're winning or upset if you're losing, and you can feel the attack, and it's like there's so many different things that these players are dealing with, and I think parents have to really be able to take all of that into consideration when talking to their child and talk to them about things other than tennis.
Yeah, surround them with experts on the area, no? Like if you want your kid to be a lawyer, you will send him with lawyers, no?
That's true.
So if you want your kid to be a tennis champion, maybe it's a good idea to send him with a tennis champion, no? Like or with someone who has lived tennis like 30 years. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you see it a lot. You see it a lot with players that that have their own coach, and then they bring in someone who's also played at a high level, and won championships and won Grand Slams, and they join the team, maybe not as their primary coach, but someone who can share the other experience of
They know what it takes.
Yeah, they know what it takes. They know what they dealt with. They know what it takes to get across the line to the finish.
Yeah.
And, so it's nice to hear from someone who's actually experienced those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how was the transition for you? Like your kid, especially like Ben, went to university and then make the move to go pro. It's like for you was a lot of fears, was like excitement. How did you live that moment?
Well, it was interesting because for me, he was playing on my university team.
Oh.
So I was coaching at the University of Florida, and Ben he had completed 2 years in the university on the team with me. And so for me at that stage, it was the greatest part of my coaching career, having him on the team.
That's pretty cool.
With the other guys that I was coaching, and for him to be a big part of that and to experience that each day with him was like a dream come true. So when he left, I was going to stay on at the university and he was going to turn pro. And I was a little bit sad, that in my mind, I was like, he's going to do 4 years here with me, And then after 2, I felt like I was robbed a little bit, And, but he's like, Dad, I want to go. I need to go. I'm ready to go. And so I had to kind of like give him my blessing, and like, okay, go son. Good luck, And he was going to be traveling with the USTA coach, Dean Goldfine, who's a friend of mine. And I was jealous a little bit, like he was going off with another coach and, but I was also excited for him, that he was going to be able to live out his dream now, which is his current dream, to be able to play on professional tour. And he was moving quickly like this. And so that's always exciting to see your child and see them progressing, developing, growing in confidence, being able to experience things for the first time. He had never been out of the country, and I always thought that I'd be the one to take him out of the country, his mom and I. And he went on his own, to Australia, the very first time he left the United States. And then to see him like his first Grand Slam as a pro, really, he played the U.S. Open before, but as a pro, he goes to Australia and makes the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah.
How is this happening so quickly? So very proud moments, but also, knowing that there's going to be a lot of changes in his life in a quick amount of time. And I'm not there, to help him through some of those things was good, but also tough, and about 6 months afterward, he's like, Dad, you have to come out here with me, and that made me feel like, okay, it's time. It's time. So then I ended up leaving the university and started to travel with him full time. So
that's pretty cool.
Pretty amazing. Like last 2 years ago, coming to Wimbledon for the first time with him, and kind of starting the coaching here at Wimbledon. And then I've been with him, now for 2 years on the road. So pretty amazing.
You find it hard sometimes to like balance those two roles, like being a dad, for like someone who's still very young, growing, discovering life, and at the same time being the coach?
It's tough at times, but I think that for me, it's just about being patient and to be aware. And so I'm constantly aware of where Ben is at mentally, emotionally, when he wants to talk about tennis, when he wants to talk about his game, when he wants to talk about things that are related to the sport. I'm aware of that. And when he doesn't, I'm very aware of that too.
Yeah.
And so I just respect both. And I think that's where our relationship is healthy, is that when he was a young kid, I was the boss and I was telling him this, and this, and he just had to sit and listen.
Yeah.
But as he's grown into a young adult, that's changed.
Yeah. He's an independent guy now.
Yeah, he's independent. We sometimes have dinners together, but not often.
So outside of the tennis, you try to do like separate lives?
Let him live his life. It's not normal for a 22-year-old to be with his mom and dad or with his dad all the time. It's normal for them to go out and to experience life and to grow up on their own.
Well, we make it sustainable also, in the long term, to have a good time outside of the tennis court.
Yeah, that's important. The balance is very, very important. And so I don't ever want to impose too much of myself there. We have a very good relationship, and there's mutual respect that I have for him. and that he has for me, and the love is there both ways as father and son, and that's the most important.
Yeah.
And then I probably give him about 5 or 10% of the tennis, you know, of what I have. You know, right now he's only taking 5 or 10%, but it's okay. I have a lot more to give, but I wait.
Whenever he's ready to take it.
Even when he's on the court playing, I wait.
Yeah.
And I know when he comes to my corner, I know when he wants something or when he needs to hear something from me and what type of things he wants or needs to hear. And I respect that.
Yeah. Yeah, you need to accept his own like timings, in life to be ready to grow, to learn new stuff. Like if you push too much, it's gonna be like a rebel and like live it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he knows me so well that, you know, everyone says, "Oh, you're smiling all the time when Ben's playing," and part of it is like it's an amazing experience to see your son out there on the court and playing, and you think about like I pinch myself, like, is this really happening?
Yeah.
You know, and so there's that, but then there's also just the thought of what do I want him to see from me when he's playing the game?
Yeah.
I want him to understand it. It's a game.
Yeah.
And that you're playing a game and you should be having the time of your life out there, you know, and having fun. And so when he sees me and he sees that I'm enjoying the experience, whether he's winning or losing, then it kind of reminds him that it's not just about the result.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want the result. We're competitive, you know, but there's more things to life than just the result.
The result should be a consequence in a way, no? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, when you're a player and you're in the middle of the court and you watch at your team and you see like desperate faces or like tension or like unhappiness or like frustration, it's like, it's very tough because you're obviously trying your best. It's not like you're doing mistake on purpose.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like...
But I think one of the things
like
that strikes me the most when I entered, like it's at the end, I'm not part of the team, but like the team is there to help the player, no? Like you're there to serve the player, no? In any way they like first to achieve their goals,
absolutely.
No? And like a lot of people make it about themselves, right? It's about, I need to win. I need to, you know, like, oh, like, why did you miss? Why did you play? It looks like you don't want to win. It's like, well try to understand why, right? Because like at the end, we are here to serve the person, not to judge them or even make it worse.
Yeah.
I think part of my thought for myself and for the team is that we also want to model the behavior and the feeling that the player could look at and say, okay, that's what I want to do. That's how I should behave. You know, I should be enjoying this. I should be excited. I should be having fun out here on the court. And so I want everyone else to have that look and have that feeling as well, so that we're all together in this, you know? And I think parents sometimes are like, his attitude's not right, you know, and they're upset about it. And like, well, why?
Yeah.
What are you projecting to your son or to your daughter that they're feeling the stress from you because of that? And it's like, I tell the player sometimes you have to fake it until you make it.
True.
Like, just act like you feel confident. Just put a smile on your face, even though you don't feel it. Eventually, if you do that enough, it'll start to change and become more natural. And the same for the team. It's like, we have to bring this, even if we feel nervous or we feel this or that, you know, that's normal.
Yeah.
But don't show that.
When you start putting bad faces, you go like down the road. It ends up in a pretty bad spot.
Yeah. It's funny because I feel like when Ben makes a mistake on the court, and if I look around, I see a lot of eyes looking to me. You know, if I look in the spectators, they're looking at me like, how is he going to respond to that? And you realize like, wow, they're looking. Maybe Ben's looking as well. Like, how are you going to respond to that mistake I just made? It's okay, man. We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
You know? Next one.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on coaching during matches?
Well, you know, I come from university tennis.
True.
So it's something I'm very accustomed to on the court. But I do have a conflict with it because I think that one of the things that I've always loved about the sport is that you do have to learn how to problem solve, and you do have to learn how to make adjustments yourself out on the court. And I think that's a beautiful part of the game. It's the history of the game, is that you go out on the court and you've got to figure out how to compete against the other player. And you may have your plan A, but you know, if things aren't working, what adjustments can you make during the match? So I think that's a big part of the game.
Yeah.
And and I think that people can overcoach, you know, and they can actually get in the way of their players' progress. And so it's like, I think the coaching part is, like I said, it's a little bit of an art. You know, it's not, I mean, we very rarely say much that's technical during a match. You know, it's really just trying to get them in the right mindset, the right frame of mind to be able to express his talents the best way out there on the court, and to give himself the best opportunity to compete at a high level and get lost in that feeling of competition, which I think is so much fun, you know? And so if you can get lost in that and just enjoy that process and that battle with you and the other person out on the court, and you know, just understand that person's worked very hard and they're a very good player over there, but so are you. And let's see what happens, you know, through this next 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is. It's like, that's fun. Things can change a lot in 3 hours. And if you have, especially if you have the right mindset and the right mentality out there on the court, and even if it doesn't start the way you want to, there's a lot of different ways to win, you know? And I think that's the fun part of the sport as well.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree on like, to come back a bit on earlier, like when you say, like, when you're a player and you look at your box, like for me, the experience I had with my father, and then when I had my last coach, Bertrand, also like when Borja joined the box, it was very like 2 different experience. And most of the time, as I was already very stressed on court, and sometimes like I was seeing my dad like very close, like very like straight. It was like even like tightening me up more.
Yes.
And sometimes also when you do a mistake at the end, it's good to laugh about it. But I never felt like I could do it or I was allowed to do it. And then when I was with Bertrand, and after even more with Borja, I was like, you know, even like, okay, that was ridiculous. You know, you have just to laugh about it, and you know, like nothing is happening.
But it's a laugh and cry.
You know, it's like sometimes it's just like, what was that? You know, and sometimes it was like at the beginning, it was like, I cannot do it. You know, like practice is not supposed to be something fun, and matches neither. It's like laughing is not allowed.
For you, tennis, it's always been much more than tennis in a way. Like you have like the world in your shoulders. No, it's like if I win, I'm a decent person who deserves love. If I lose, I'm a piece of shit. You know, and like I'm not getting love. I'm just getting bad faces. So I think that makes it very complicated also to enjoy. Like
I agree.
It was too complicated, tennis, for you.
But as the first person, like, would try to like bring smile and laughing already on practice, you know, because it was like all about seriousness. And it was like, it was tough, you know, to like let it go. And after, it's true, like sometimes it's better to laugh at yourself. Because
me, it was like, because when we started dating, sometimes I came to your practices to see, and it looked like a funeral, you know. and sometimes I was like, look, I'm not going to give you any tennis tips because I have none to give, you know. I tried 10 years and I suck at it, as you saw.
Not bad. Come on.
I'm terrible. But, you know, I come from business, and doing things with a light mood, with happiness, with joy helps, right? And she was like, no, this has to be, you know, like serious. You cannot laugh. It has to be like every mistake you have to break your racket, you know? So I was like, okay, we have to start a podcast and we have to start bringing like people who actually like know.
That's so good.
Yeah, like we started to bring Darren Cahill, Ivan Ljubicic, you know, and everyone's like, they talk about balance, about like playing for the right reasons, no? And it's good. It's good to know. It helps. Like at the end, I think if you think you're curing cancer when you're on court, you know, it's the pressure is like huge. Like some lightness helps. Then you have to work hard. You know? It's 2 different things. Like playing with lightness and working your ass. It's 2 different things.
I think that's what we're working on now, because we've always said, you know, want Ben to be able to express himself on the court in a positive way, you know, and people respond to that. People like that, you know, he's authentic, you know, it's just who he is. He's not even putting on a show. It's just really,
he's a showman.
He's just who he is. You know, every time he's upset or he's happy or he's whatever, it's just his emotion that comes out, and he's always shown that emotion. And so it's a good thing. But as we try to help him to progress and develop and go further with his game, you know, it's like finding a balance, you know, of like, okay, we got to put in the hard work. That's got to be there.
Yeah, that's non-negotiable.
You have to have that. And so even in a practice, he's laughing and it's like, okay, now let's shift into a little bit more serious mode. Okay, now you can relax, and you know, and so it's even through a practice, it's finding those balances so that he's where he wants to be. I want him to love to be on the practice court. I want him to love to be on the match court. That's important. And if we lose that,
Yeah.
we're going to lose a lot.
Yeah, long term, the train is going to crash.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's important because this job right now, the way the tour is set up with so many weeks on the road and so many tournaments that you're mandatory that you have to play, and some of these weeks going longer to 2 weeks, and you know, it's a lot of time of your life that you're spending, you know, in this arena, and it's not always easy, you know, so to make sure that you are enjoying the process because you're spending a lot of time there, you know, it's really important.
That's a good advice for young players coming up, you know, to try to find that joy, to find that balance, and to enjoy what they're doing. To not lose the perspective, no, like how cool it is what they're doing.
Yeah.
And try to find ways to keep enjoying. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think for coaches, it's also balancing the practices and the training and put some fun things into the thing, you know, where they're working on some fun shots, you know, and doing something that maybe they're not going to do so much in matches, but it's just something that's fun. Yeah. Even at the university, we always had some games that we play the guys loved or girls loved, and you put that into the practice, and then you put some serious things as well, and you kind of balance it all together, and you become a little bit more well-rounded, but you're enjoying the process, and it's not just a grind every single day, just grind. And I mean, there's some players that like to grind, you know, and other players that don't like to grind so much. And you got to find out who am I working with here, and how do I get the best out of them? Yeah,
you need a ton of empathy, you know, at the end to understand like what kind of human you have in front of you, you know, and what's the best way for them to understand what you're trying to communicate.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like on practice court, like as most of the time your time is maybe limited on practice court, like you cannot spend maybe 5 hours. It's like you have to do things only that you're going to be doing, or it's useful, and everything is like like you say, like doing some fun exercises or shot like you're never gonna do is like a loss of time, even if it's fun and you felt like time went like this when it was half an hour on court. It's like sometimes it feels like everything has to be like useful, like have a purpose, and it's like it's true that sometimes having fun and like playing a game that is useless but it's fun, it's like maybe it's good.
I think it is. I think that the development and the growth, I think some players, they start to work on one thing and they want to perfect it in that day. Like, so they just keep doing it and repeating it again and again and again. No, one more. And maybe in that day, they improve that one thing, but when they go play, their game doesn't flow.
Yeah.
It doesn't all come together because they were so worried about hitting the ball or doing one technical thing, and they got stuck in their mind with that one thing, instead of having this well-rounded array of different things. And you start to, over time, you improve all those areas a lot quicker, and you can implement them in your game when you're playing the game. Because there's hitting the ball and there's playing the game. It's two different things.
Yeah.
And there's some people that are great hitters, and there's other people that are great players.
Yeah.
I always prefer the player.
I
always prefer the player.
What Brad Gilbert also says, you know, winning ugly and being a good competitor.
Yeah. There's so much to it, you know, and I think that a healthy, happy person is going to produce the best results.
Yeah. It was Dominic Thiem. We had him a few weeks before retiring.
Awesome.
Yeah. And he was blaming like even his injuries, but especially the last years, like to the fact that he was not ever able to find that balance and that joy, you know, while he was playing. He was like, this is why I'm retiring, and why, you know, like since I won the US Open, it's not been that great, you know. And he was saying, like, I think Roger, Rafa, Novak, they're able to play like for so long because they have that balance, they have that joy that, you know, like not everything is about tennis, and that makes them able to have fun like for such a long time. Yeah.
That's a good point. It's a good point.
How can you coach a very aggressive player? What do you have to accept, and how do you have to make it better?
Yeah, I think that, you know, mistakes are going to be part of the game. You know, I think when you're searching to find your upper limits, I think that's the fun part, you know, for the player that is aggressive mindset, is finding their upper limits. And Ben, for instance, he loves to explore that, you know, like, what can I do? What is my upper limit?
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, we have to sometimes endure some mistakes that he's going to make out on the court. You know, one of the things that I've found as a coach that played is that I had certain limitations mentally and physically with my game, and that's probably part of the reason I never reached the top 50. And then I'm coaching a player that has much bigger, higher limits than I had. So I have to be careful not to put him into my head. And I have to realize that he's different and he has greater abilities maybe, and he has more things that he can do. And so I have to be careful not to put him in a box.
Yeah.
And I got to allow him to do some of these things.
Yeah,
because,
maybe. Sorry.
Because maybe his way is the right way, and so I'm careful not to try to squash, his talent or his expression or his ability to play the game and not limit him in any way. But at the same time, we're trying to grow the bottom as well as push the top. And so right now the bottom is still a little bit low for as far, as high as the top is. And so I think that's the challenge. It's like, how can we eliminate the bad days, the days where he's losing matches that possibly he could win, and still be able to play the great matches? Because right now he comes to the Grand Slams, and whatever switch he turns, he starts to play his very best tennis. Anytime he gets to a Grand Slam, and then he has the opportunity to play the top players, he's playing very well. So it's just, how do we increase the bottom level? For me as a coach, I think that's the challenge, in working with a guy like Ben, who's very, very aggressive. But I also was an aggressive player, so it's kind of my mentality too, that I want to be able to control play on the court, and I want Ben to be the one dictating, and he played Alcaraz at the French Open this year. For the first couple of sets, Ben was the one dictating play. And I think, playing a guy like that and he's having to respond to you, that was a pretty nice position to be in, and that's Ben at his top level right now, and like I said, when he's there, it's great. But there's times when he goes past that limit and then he shoots himself in the foot, and so he doesn't get to the second or third round or in a tournament,
You think like maybe in a way, like you have to allow this to happen, to not like limit the growth, like maybe you have to give up a bit the short term, and accept that maybe some days are going to be bad, but overall will pay off because he will learn from there, and like his high will keep raising, no?
Yes. I mean, I still want him to do things. And if he makes mistakes and then he stops to serve and volley, or he stops to want to come forward, or stops wanting to use his slice or his drop shot, or doing some of these things that I want him to continue to develop, and we say, you're missing that, don't do that anymore. Like, no. Keep doing it, but make the correction. You did this with the volley and you played to the open court and you should have kept it behind the guy, and next time just make a different choice. But the effort of coming forward, that was not your mistake,
Yes, it was a good intention.
It was good intention, and I want you to continue to work that way and continue to play that way. And it's like continue to learn, because I think for Ben, it's also learning how to anticipate on the court. Because I feel like the best players in the world, they understand where to position themselves at all times. They see what's going to come before it happens. And so they're already moving to the next position. They know when they make a certain type of approach shot, the most likely place the ball will be after that. And they're in position to make that play, especially in my day when Edberg and Rafter and these guys came forward a lot. They understood what the opponent was going to do.
They
next.
read the game so
They
well.
read it and they see it. I think Alcaraz and Sinner and these guys as well at the top, they see the game. They're very fast and they move very well, but they also anticipate extremely well.
They know what you're going to do,
And on those moments where you like have those slows and bad days and you lost early in tournaments, like sometimes as a player you may get affected by it. And sometimes like media start to judge you and start to sometimes judge the coach. How can you how do you leave those moments? How do you try to not get your player affected by it?
Yeah, I think for us, it just depends on the match. There's certain matches when Ben plays very poorly, And we come to the gym afterward, and he's doing his cool down, or he's just sitting there not doing anything, just thinking about it. I tell him, like, we're going to throw that match in that garbage right there, and we're going to light a match, and we're going to burn it, and we're not going to think about it again. Okay? Let's go. Put that one away.
Because
there's
like
nothing there for you.
Okay.
It was
There's
just a
nothing
bad
there
day,
for
that's
you.
it.
Nothing there for you to take. There's some matches where it's close maybe, or there's something to learn, something to gain from the loss. And it's like, maybe not in the next hour or two after the match, but at some point he's going to want to talk about that. And we're going to talk about it. And he wants to resolve it in his own mind and find, like, what could I have done? What should I have done? What will I do the next time I'm in that situation so that I don't feel this again? And so then we'll go through it and make the corrections of what are some of the things that he could have done differently in his preparation and our preparation before the match. Because I always take responsibility too, you know? So what could we have done different in our preparation, and what could we have done different during the match to get a different type of outcome? And then once we see the corrections and visualize, like, what could have happened and what should happen, then we go back to resetting and we go again. Yeah. And it's like fresh again, you know, but you've got to kind of resolve that in your mind and have peace with it. And then you can move forward. So then there's those matches. So some we throw away, and some we take and we really digest a little bit and we learn from it. And I think that's part of the process. And I told Ben, like, as a pro, I mean, I've lost so many matches when I was playing, you know, and that's part of the process. But I had some of my greatest moments after losses. So, and Ben has too. Some of his best results have come after a week where he didn't play well. So I always remind him of that, you know, like, you lost in Mallorca, but you did the same last year. And then you were in the fourth round at Wimbledon and you were playing very, very well. Yeah. Australia, you lost early in Auckland. You went to Australia, you're in the semifinals again this year. You know, US Open, you lost in Cincinnati early. And then, so just bring back all these things. This is what you do. You respond. You are, like, we have like a donkey and we have a racehorse. The donkey, if you kick them, they just don't do anything. They just stop. But a racehorse, you do this, boom, they take off. And I tell Ben, you're a racehorse. When you feel something, you're ready to take off again, you know? And I think that that's how he kind of sees himself as well.
Nice. That's cool. I think we're getting
close to the
end. Yeah.
Okay.
What advice would you give to, I don't want to change it, we always ask, what advice would you give to your younger self or young players? But I'm curious, what advice would you give to parents of young players that their kids are trying to make it? What advice would you give to them?
You know, I think that the way that I've always parented and the way that I've always coached is I always try to ask the questions. And it's a different way of approaching and teaching your kids how to think, how to solve problems, how to get to solutions and resolutions, how to grow and develop. Because if we're constantly telling our kids what to do, how to do it better, it becomes us. It becomes our thing, not their thing. And for your kid, what one thing that I really want and my wife really wants for our children is that they feel strong within themselves.
Nice.
Internally, they understand who they are and why they do the things that they do, and what their goals are and the things that they want to accomplish for themselves, not for me, not for their mom, not for someone else, but for them. And so by asking the questions, it allows them to start to think for themselves and start to become confident in who they are as people. Yeah. And then obviously as tennis players as well. And so, you know, that's the advice I give everyone. It's like, it's just my approach, but I feel like it's worked well with the players that I've worked with in the past. And it certainly works well with my kids. It's just ask the questions. What could you have done better? What is something you want to accomplish? How did you feel out there on the court? What could change that and get you to a better place? Like, what are some of the things you felt like you were missing? What are some of the things that you're feeling really good about? Like, where do you gain your confidence when you're out on the court? Like, when you played your best in those matches, what were you doing beforehand? What did you eat? What did you think? How did you sleep? What did you do? Because I want them starting to put like an association with certain behaviors that lead to certain performances and just a way of feeling good about yourself. And so I think that, less talking down to your kids, more trying to get them to engage and to take responsibility. I think that that's a healthy approach, and that's the advice I'd give.
Love it.
It's pretty good.
I think it's my favorite advice so far in the podcast.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Bryan.
you so much,
It's been an honor. We are big fans of the Sheltons here.
We're big fans of you guys as well.
So
Big
rooting
fan of
for
the
you.
Sheltons.
I'm excited for you guys, and
Yeah.
just the future for you.
Yep.
It's going to be bright and
Yes.
going to be healthy. That's great.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next episodes. And it will mean the world to me if you can share this episode with someone you think will enjoy it. Thank you and see you soon!